Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. So, we are recording, or I am recording rather, the week of the election, right? So, the election happened on Tuesday. There were a lot of people that were thrilled. There were a lot of people that hated it, right? I'm not going to talk about that today at all. I thought about it and then I was like, you know what? I don't really like to bring that in to my podcast because politics can be very personal. And the truth is, no one is actually going to save you. So it doesn't matter who is in political office. It is your job to create your own future. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So we're not going to talk politics. We're just not going to go there, right? But today I want to talk about what BS are you telling yourself, right? So I met with one of the moms at my kids' school the other day, and we have known each other for a few years now. We connected pre-COVID. We actually happened to connect through a Facebook group that was local. And we've just been connected through social media, essentially. And she reached out and said, hey, you want to meet up for coffee? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so we got to chit-chatting about how the kids were doing, how life was going, all the things, right? And what was interesting was we started to talk about this podcast, right? Like, what is it all about? What do I do? What do I mean by bullshit? Like, what is that, right? And we are the stories that we tell ourselves. I believe this 100%. And so if you don't like who you are, you've got to start telling yourself different stories. But the problem is, a lot of us aren't actually aware of the stories that we're telling, because they're so subconsciously ingrained in us from a young age that we don't actually, we can't necessarily see what that story is, right? There's the saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. I can see this for people. I remember being able to do this in high school. I remember being able to see like what somebody was coming up against and noticing it. And I never knew what to actually do with it because I was like, okay, this is interesting. Who really cares, right? But I am able to see what BS story is being told that's actually holding you back. And I love to do this with my clients because it is absolutely breakthrough. It's a major breakthrough. It's really cool when they can actually start to say, oh, wait, that is the thing. Like, shoot, yeah, that's actually stopping me from, oh my goodness, right? Like, and it's so fun to actually see them start to open up because they're like, oh, I didn't even know, right? And I am guilty of this as well. Like, I remember I was one of my very first coaches that I was working with. I was sending him a voice message. I use Voxer, which is just an application for voice messaging, and I use that with all of my clients. I've also used it with many of my coaches, and it just allows kind of that safe space. But I am also a verbal processor, and I remember sending this message to my coach, and as I'm speaking it out loud, I said, holy crap. I was like, the bullshit story that I've been telling myself is that there's nobility in the struggle. So I, at the time, was really struggling to receive clients. I was totally in my own way. Like, all these things were coming up that were essentially stopping me, but they were just stories that I was living out that I didn't actually know about. And I said, I always believed that there was nobility in the struggle. And I remember he messaged me back and he was like, that's a big one. That's a huge story that a lot of people live their lives by, not knowing that they're actually living their lives by it. And so when it comes to cutting through the bullshit, right? It's the stories that we tell ourselves, right? I was sharing this the other day. I said, when I first started my business, I believed I had to have a website before I could receive any clients. But at the time, I didn't have the money to pay for someone to design my website. And so I invested in this online course that was like, I don't know, probably $50 or something, that taught me how to build a website on WordPress, I think is what it was back then. I don't even know, right? And so it was on WordPress, and I hated this idea of building a website. I hated it. But it was one of those things that I was like, okay, I have to do this in order to be successful, right? Like, this was the story I was telling myself. And so I spent 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week for like a month straight to get this website up. And I got the website up, I got it launched, and I hated it so much I didn't actually ever send people to it. But I was still able to get clients, even though I hated the website that I was sending people to, right? But that was a story that I told myself that was holding myself back, was I cannot be successful until I have a website up. No one's going to buy from me unless I have a website up. Well, one of my other mentors makes millions of dollars a year, right? A month too, right? Millions of dollars a year. And she still has yet to have an actual website. She has a bunch of landing pages where you can buy her programs, but she doesn't have an actual website where all of her stuff is housed. So you can be successful without a website. Another story that I told myself for a long time was I couldn't be successful and be a mom. It was one or the other, right? I was either a super awesome present mom, or I got to have a very successful business. And then one day I decided that story was BS. And I was like, you know what? No, I get to be a successful mom and a successful business owner. I can be present with my kids and grow a thriving business. I get to do both of these things. But there are these stories that we come up against, and unless we're willing to look at it, we're just going to continue to live that out, right? And so you've got to take the time and say, okay, if I want to, and I was just talking with someone again the other day about this, and she had asked me, okay, what do I need to do to move forward? I said, you've got to find the things that are stopping you from actually moving forward, right? So there are things that are keeping us from being successful. I talk about this all the time. If you decide that you're going to go to the gym, you want to start working out and losing weight, there are going to be BS stories that you start to tell yourself, right? The number one story I tell myself about working out is I don't know what to do, right? If I don't know what to do when it comes time to do a workout, I'm not going to work out. And I know that about myself, which is why I don't go to the gym. I go to the gym to swim, and I'll be going to the gym to use their spin bike because it's getting colder and I'm not cycling outside, right? But I don't go to the gym to use the weights and all those other things because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And so that is a massive deterrent for me from going to the gym. So if you sit down and you are very honest with yourself about this and you say, okay, I want to do this, you're going to have several stories that come up and say, okay, well, you can't do it because of this. 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 You can't do it because of this, right? And look at each one of those things and go, okay, is that legitimate or is it BS? Chances are it's BS. Because the number one reason I don't go to the gym is because I don't work out is because I don't have a workout plan. Okay, well, I went to Chat GPT, whatever the heck it's called. I don't even know. And I said, okay, create a training schedule for me for the next 12 months for a triathlon. Boom, done. Now I had a plan. Okay, so what was my next obstacle? Well, the next obstacle was, okay, where am I going to cycle when it starts to get cold? Well, I have a membership at the gym for swimming laps. I can use the spin bike there. Okay, cool. All right, so what's the next obstacle? Well, the one that's going to come up, which just comes up for everybody, is the time. Okay, so I've got to schedule this in. So the days that I go to the gym, I drop my kids off at school, the gym is on the way home. There's no reason for me to miss it at that point. Okay, cool. So I know if I drop off my kids, I can go to the gym and I can still be home by 10 a.m. Okay, cool. So don't schedule any of my stuff before 10 a.m. at home. All right, cool. Noted. Done. Right? Like, You've got to go through these BS stories yourself and say, okay, what's actually standing in my way? Is it a legitimate thing or is it BS? And how do I move past it? Because these stories are actually what's going to stop you. Because you've subscribed to it, subconsciously or consciously, right? There's a story that you've subscribed to that's stopping you from being successful. Okay. Another one that I talked to somebody about this the other day. I don't like to do Facebook Lives. You don't have to do Facebook Lives to have a successful business. You don't have to. You don't have to have a Facebook group. You don't have to use actual paid ads. You can use organic marketing. Still a thing. You don't have to be on every social media platform. So whatever story you're telling yourself, there is somebody out there who's created success without doing that thing. Same thing with losing weight, right? Well, I don't want to eat raw vegetables and nothing else. You don't have to be a raw vegan to lose weight. That worked for somebody. I can tell you a million other people who lost weight without being raw vegan. The way you create success is going to be unique to you. You've got to move through those stories that are in your way, because most of them, if not all of them, really, I'm just going to say all of them are a bunch of BS. Unless it's an empowering story, then it's not a BS story, right? Like we want to subscribe to the empowering ones, but the ones that are stopping you, those are BS stories. I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, I don't have this, I don't have that. BS. All BS. For a long time, I didn't work out because I told myself I didn't have the time. No, it just wasn't a priority. Once I made it a priority, workouts came back into my life. There was a period of time I told myself I didn't have the money. Well, I disempowered myself when it came around money. But I can give you millions of times of proof where I came up with the money for the thing that I really wanted. So it comes back to that very first thing that I talked about here in making success inevitable. You have to get clarity on what it is that you want. But then you're going to have to face these BS stories. This will be a thing that comes up, and it comes up no matter your level of success, no matter your income level, no matter your weight loss goal, right? These BS stories are something that every single person on this planet has had to face. And the successful ones have looked these stories in the eye and said, you know what? That is no longer true for me. I'm going to subscribe to this story instead. The thing is, if you're going to tell yourself a story, it might as well be one that benefits you. Because you're telling yourself stories anyways. So why not let it be one that encourages you to actually create success? Why not let the story work in your favor? Okay? All right. So I'm sending you so much love. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And if you do want support in cutting through the BS, please reach out to me about my breakthrough coaching programs. I'm currently doing 3 and 6 month options. And that is private coaching, where we are going to cut through the BS stories in your life, in order to help you create the success that you want in your life or your business. Again, this is a private mentoring program, so it is customized to you. You do have some systems in place, and it does require some strategy, some mindset work, but it's got to be your willingness to change. You have to be willing to change in order for things to actually change in your life. And if you are going to just be stuck in the mud, don't expect things to change, right? That's the definition of insanity. Okay, so I'm sending you so much love. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye, love.